Warning, this episode contains mild to heavy explicit spoilers. Listen at your own risk.
Reviews, discussions, and theories about films in horror, sci-fi, and genre. This is The Horror Deconstruction. Like, share, and subscribe to hear more.
It's the ending days of World War II. Kamikaze pilot Koichi has flown back to a remote island, complaining to fellow patriots of the rising sun that his plane is faulty and must be tended to. Thus, he cannot complete his glorious sacrificial mission in the name of the Emperor and the people of Japan. Suspicious, one mechanic calls this odd behavior out until a large sound disrupts the eerie silence. The men suddenly are confronted by a stories-tall reptilian beast. Before he lays waste to all of them, Koichi is ordered to shoot at the creature from his stationary plane, and yet he freezes. All the men save Koichi and the mechanic Tachibana perish. Koichi has now twice shown his fear of conflict. Godzilla slowly descends into the waters, a monstrous promise that he and Koichi will yet again be fated to meet. This is the opening of Godzilla -1, written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki. The surprise critical darling of the kaiju genre, this film marks the latest Japanese-created entry into the long-running series since 2016's Shin Godzilla. There has been no shortage of the iconic Japanese mainstay, from animated series on Netflix to a trilogy of American Godzilla films, the latest one featuring American icon King Kong. The US has finally found a way to make income and turn around from the embarrassing 1998 reimagining of the Toho monster. I myself have not seen the American Godzilla films because of mistrust from the Broderick film. I don't care about King Kong, having partially seen the excellent original 1933 film, which is still technically impressive, and the so-so Peter Jackson remake. I've seen possibly one or two Japanese Godzilla films. I think Godzilla 2000, some of Godzilla 89, and a half hour of the Hideki Anno Shin Godzilla movie, a movie I will finish. I respect Anno too much to not to. It's that I know what the basic setup of Godzilla is, and it's repetitive, and I understand it's very ironic of me to say this having seen 80% of Marvel films and finally getting tired of it. That said, now we're in new territory. I've always had appreciation for the aesthetics of Japanese kaiju, even if I wasn't interested in the films themselves. I champion movies like Zeram, even Moon Over Tao. These are all directed by the same guy, Keita Amemiya, and you should watch them. And I really wasn't interested in the human side of stories of Godzilla, mostly why I wouldn't care about Millie Bobby Brown or Aaron Taylor Johnson being frightened by a giant monster in the American films. This, though, is different. -1's reviews were mostly good. I mean, I haven't seen any bad ones, but all championed the filmmaking, the characters, the production of the film. I said to myself, I'll watch it, and usually that means I won't, but I did. And I'm very pleased with the film. In fact, unexpectedly moved by the film, with a giant lizard destroying Japan. And I like Japanese pop culture, but boy do they make destruction look beautiful. The film has actually a well-done human element to it. The shell-shocked protagonist with unending shame of his cowardice, well, according to the incredibly judgmental populace at the time, he even gets reminded of his shortcomings as he visits a location to find out his family is gone, and gets an added ball-busting for free. Koichi, trying to reacclimate himself to the rebuilding of Japan under the semi-watchful eye of the US, befriends the plucky Noriko and her adopted child Akiko. Their ball-busting neighbor Sumiko also helps along. They form a family unit as Koichi tries taking a job that's destroying mines set through the war. He is partnered with Doc, the kid, and Captain. These scenes are about 1/3 of the film. They are shades of Jaws, influenced in a good way to create an uneasiness in the feature. The interesting anti-war stance that the film takes is not necessarily blaming other countries for their woes, but in how its populace is fed to the meat grinder for the quote-unquote greater good. Koichi, played by Runosuke Kamiki, at times is wall-eyed and extra expressive. He still creates an endearing character. In fact, you want everyone to make it out of this disaster film, and through it. There are some really terrifying scenes of complete destruction where you're not sure anybody's going to make it out. Godzilla is mostly CGI, and while I'm not a fan of that method for the most part, and really not in foreign features, UK's The Ritual being a strong exception, I was fine with the creature's realization in this particular feature. Big, but not enormous like previous films, he's still intimidating, with the cool heat ray and Dragon Ball Z Saiyan charging visual, Godzilla fills the role of omnipotent destroyer, regenerating at will after mouthing an explosive mine. Really does the job of the big monster who's supposed to just swoop in and out at the appropriate time, showing how utterly screwed everybody else is when they make a disappearance. I found myself moved by the film in plenty of sequences because of its genuine old-school way of entertainment. The characters have meaning, their aspirations to better themselves shows through, and it really makes it a moving picture. There was a stunning moment in this film where mass chaos and destruction has happened in one particular town in Japan, and as I watched one character looking through the window of their destroyed train car, I thought, wow, this would be perfect for the theme song of Godzilla to play at this moment. And as I began humming it, it actually played a second after I did that. And I knew that the director knew what he was doing. He is making a classic genre film for everyone, and it hits every note greatly. It's simply an excellent film with stakes and a hero's journey for self-respect and overcoming adversity. The entire cast does well in creating memorable and likable interactions for Koichi. The destruction is incredible and expansive. The film has an old-school stakes to it. It feels like a film, like an honest genre picture taken out from the 70s through the 90s. If this is the initial Godzilla movie to see, then it's a damn good entry into a series that is getting its real appreciation these days. 8 out of 10, having your girlfriend push you out of the way of a giant win. This has been the Horror Deconstruction.